headed back up.
Same here.
Pay attention to the woman entering the lobby of the Sterling Heights Hotel in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. Her name is Diana Ramos. She's 25 years old, a registered nurse at Phoenix Children's Hospital. It's Thursday, October 12th, 2023, at 11:47 p.m. She's returning from her younger sister's bachelorette party at a restaurant 2 blocks away. She's wearing a burgundy dress and carrying her purse. Watch as she swipes her keycard at the elevator bank. The doors open. She steps inside, presses the button for the 9th floor. Now, pay attention to the man in the maintenance uniform entering the elevator 4 seconds behind her. His name is Kehinde Adebayo. He's 37 years old, originally from Ibadan, Nigeria. He's worked as night maintenance engineer at Sterling Heights for 11 months. He carries a toolbox and a radio. He's been watching Diana for 6 weeks. Within 3 hours, Diana Ramos would be dead in the hotel's abandoned sub-basement. This was not random. This was murder. Diana Ramos had lived at Sterling Heights for 14 months. The building was a mixed-use property. Hotel rooms on floors 2 through 8, residential apartments on floors 9 through 14. Diana rented apartment 9D, a studio with a view of downtown Phoenix. She'd moved in fresh out of nursing school. Her first real job, her first real apartment. She was building a life. She worked the night shift at Phoenix Children's Hospital, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., 3 to 4 nights per week. She specialized in pediatric oncology, caring for children fighting cancer. Her colleagues described her as compassionate, dedicated, the kind of nurse who stayed late to read stories to patients who couldn't sleep, who remembered birthdays, who made children laugh even in their darkest moments. Diana had grown up in Mesa, the youngest of 3 daughters. Her parents, Carlos and Lucia Ramos, had immigrated from Guadalajara in 1995. Her father worked construction. Her mother cleaned houses. They'd sacrificed everything to give their daughters opportunities. Diana was the first in her family to graduate from college. Her nursing degree from Arizona State University hung framed in her apartment. Her parents had cried at her graduation. Her Instagram account showed a simple life. Coffee dates with her sister Natalia, hikes at Camelback Mountain, photos with her niece and nephew, scrubs selfies at the hospital with the caption, "Another night saving lives." Her most recent post from that afternoon showed her and Natalia at a nail salon getting manicures for the bachelorette party. The caption read, "Last girls' night before my sister becomes Mrs. Torres." 342 likes. Natalia was getting married in 9 days. Diana was the maid of honor. She'd helped plan everything. The bridal shower, the bachelorette party, the rehearsal dinner. Tonight had been the bachelorette celebration. Just the sisters and 4 close friends. Dinner and drinks at a tapas restaurant 2 blocks from Sterling Heights. Diana had walked home at 11:40 p.m. The walk took 7 minutes. She texted Natalia at 11:38 p.m. "Home safe, love you, can't wait for your big day." Natalia had texted back, "Love you too, best maid of honor ever." It was the last message Diana would ever send. Kehinde Adebayo had arrived in the United States in November 2021. His visa was sponsored by Apex Building Services, a property management contractor that serviced multiple hotels and apartment complexes in the Phoenix metro area. Kehinde had been trained as an electrical technician in Nigeria, but found better opportunities in America working maintenance at commercial properties. Sterling Heights had contracted with Apex in December 2022. Kehinde was assigned to the overnight shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., Sunday through Thursday. His duties included responding to maintenance requests, checking mechanical systems, replacing light bulbs, clearing clogged drains, monitoring the boiler room, and ensuring building security. He had master access. His keycard opened every door: apartments, hotel rooms, storage areas, mechanical rooms, the pool, the gym, the parking garage, the basement levels. He had override keys for the elevators. He had access to the building's computer system where keycard entries were logged. He could see when residents came and went. On paper, Kehinde was unremarkable. His supervisor at Apex described him as quiet, reliable, competent. He showed up on time. He completed his work. He didn't cause problems. He had no criminal record in Nigeria or the United States. But Kehinde had been watching Diana Ramos since early September. He'd first noticed her in the lobby one night when she returned from her shift at the hospital, still wearing scrubs, her hair pulled back, exhaustion visible on her face. She'd smiled at him politely as she passed. That smile had triggered something. Kehinde began tracking her. He used the building's keycard system to monitor her movements. He learned her schedule. She worked nights, usually leaving around 6 p.m. and returning around 8 a.m. On her days off, she rarely left the building except for errands or visits with family. She lived alone. No boyfriend, no roommate, just her. He started taking the service elevator to the 9th floor during his shift, lingering in the hallway near apartment 9D, listening. He could hear her television, her music, her moving around inside. Once, he used his master key to enter her apartment while she was at work. He walked through her space, touched her things, looked through her closet, her bathroom, her personal belongings. He took nothing. He just wanted to be near her, to know her. He began researching. He found her on social media. He learned her full name, her family, her job, her routines. He screenshotted her photos. He saved them to his phone. The obsession grew. He fantasized about her. He convinced himself she felt something for him too. That smile in the lobby meant something. By early October, Kehinde had decided to act. He researched chloroform. He learned it could be made from common household chemicals. He ordered the materials online. He practiced the mixture in his apartment. He tested it on himself in small doses to understand its effects. He planned every detail. Thursday, October 12th, was the night. He knew Diana had the night off. He'd checked the schedule. He'd seen her leave earlier that evening, dressed up, carrying a small purse. Unusual, she rarely went out. He waited. The Sterling Heights security system captured Diana entering the lobby at 11:47 p.m. She walked through the automatic glass doors, her burgundy dress standing out against the neutral-toned lobby. She approached the elevator bank in the center of the lobby. She swiped her keycard. The reader beeped. The light turned green. The elevator doors opened. Diana stepped inside. She pressed the button for the 9th floor. The doors began to close. At 11:51 p.m., Kehinde Adebayo entered the frame. He was wearing his maintenance uniform, navy blue work pants, a matching shirt with Sterling Heights Maintenance embroidered on the chest, steel-toed boots. He carried a red metal toolbox and a radio clipped to his belt. He walked quickly toward the elevator. Diana saw him approaching. She pressed the door open button, holding the elevator for him. It was a polite gesture, the kind of thing Diana always did, considerate, helpful. Kehinde stepped into the elevator. He nodded at Diana. "Thank you." Diana smiled. "No problem." The elevator doors closed. Security footage from inside the elevator shows Diana standing on the right side, facing the doors. Kehinde stood behind her, slightly to the left, toolbox at his feet. At 11:51 p.m., the elevator began to ascend. Floor 2, floor 3. At the 4th floor, the elevator suddenly stopped. The lights flickered briefly. Diana looked up, confused. Kehinde had used his maintenance override key, inserted into the control panel, to halt the elevator between floors. The emergency alarm should have sounded. It didn't. Kehinde had disabled it 3 days earlier during what he'd logged as routine electrical maintenance. Diana turned. "Is everything okay?" Kehinde didn't respond. He bent down, opened his toolbox and pulled out a white cloth. The cloth had been soaked in chloroform earlier that evening, sealed in a plastic bag to preserve its potency. Diana's expression changed. Confusion turned to fear. "What are you doing?" Kehinde moved quickly. He grabbed Diana from behind, his left arm wrapping around her torso, pinning her arms. His right hand pressed the cloth over her mouth and nose. Diana fought. She twisted violently, trying to break free. She kicked backward, her heel connecting with Kehinde's shin. She threw her head back, trying to strike his face. Her hands clawed at his arm. She tried to scream, but the cloth muffled the sound. The chloroform burned her throat, her lungs. Her vision blurred. The struggle lasted 23 seconds. Diana's movements slowed. Her body went limp. She lost consciousness. Kehinde caught her as she collapsed, lowering her to the elevator floor. The elevator camera captured everything. Diana's purse fell from her shoulder, contents spilling across the floor. Her phone, her wallet, her keys, lipstick, hand sanitizer. One of her earrings had been torn from her ear during the struggle, a small gold hoop now lying near the elevator doors. Kehinde was breathing heavily. His face was scratched. Diana had fought hard. He checked her pulse. Still alive, still breathing. He hadn't planned what would happen next. He'd only planned to take her to the sub-basement, to assault her, to release her afterward. He believed she wouldn't report him. He believed she'd be too afraid, too ashamed. It was a delusion born of obsession and entitlement. Using his override key, Kehinde manually operated the elevator controls. He lowered the elevator past the lobby, past basement level B1, where the parking garage was located, to basement level B2, the mechanical floor. The doors opened to a dimly lit corridor lined with pipes, electrical panels, and the building's HVAC system. Kehinde dragged Diana's unconscious body out of the elevator. He pulled her by her arms across the concrete floor. Her burgundy dress snagged on the rough surface. He pulled her to the stairwell at the far end of the corridor, a metal door marked "Authorized Personnel Only." He opened the door. The stairs descended one more level to sub-basement B3, a condemned storage area that had been sealed after a water main break caused flooding in 2019. The sub-basement was supposed to be permanently closed, but maintenance still had keys for emergency access to shut off valves and electrical panels. Kehinde dragged Diana down the stairs. B3 was dark, cold, and silent. The air smelled of mold and decay. Water stains covered the walls. The floor was uneven, cracked concrete. This level had once been used for storage. Old furniture, files, equipment the building no longer needed. Now it was abandoned. Kehinde pulled Diana into a former janitor's storage room, a windowless space approximately 10 feet by 12 feet. He'd been here before. He'd prepared. 3 weeks earlier, he'd brought supplies: a tarp, zip ties, duct tape, a battery-powered lantern. He'd hidden them in a corner behind old shelving units. He laid Diana on the floor. He retrieved the lantern and turned it on. Cold white light filled the room. He stood over her, watching her breathe, deciding what to do next. Diana began to regain consciousness at 12:03 a.m. Her eyes fluttered open. Her vision was blurred. Her head was pounding. She tried to move. Kehinde was kneeling beside her, his weight pinning her down. Diana's mind cleared enough to understand where she was, what was happening. She screamed. The sound echoed in the small room but went no further. B3 was soundproofed by 3 floors of concrete and earth. No one could hear her. Kehinde panicked. This wasn't the plan. She was supposed to be compliant, disoriented, controllable. Instead, she was screaming, fighting. He placed his hands around her throat to silence her. Diana clawed at his face. Her nails raked across his cheeks, his neck drawing blood. She thrashed beneath him, trying to escape. She was strong. The fight-or-flight response gave her strength she didn't know she had. Kehinde squeezed harder. Diana couldn't breathe. She couldn't scream. Her hands pulled at his wrists, trying to break his grip. Her legs kicked, heels scraping against the concrete floor. She tried to reach his eyes, to gouge them, to make him stop. The struggle lasted 4 minutes. Diana's movements slowed. Her hands fell away from his wrists. Her body went still. Kehinde held his grip for another minute, making sure. He checked her pulse. Nothing. Diana Ramos was dead at 12:07 a.m. on Friday, October 13, 2023. Kehinde sat back, breathing heavily, bleeding from the scratches on his face and neck. He stared at Diana's body. He hadn't meant to kill her. He'd meant to assault her, to fulfill his obsession, to let her go. Now she was dead. Now he was a murderer. He worked quickly, driven by panic. He used the zip ties to bind her wrists and ankles. He covered her body with the tarp. He retrieved her earring from the elevator later, the one torn off during the initial struggle. He put it in his pocket as some twisted souvenir. He locked the storage room. He returned to B2, then took the service stairs up to the main level. He cleaned himself in a maintenance closet on the 3rd floor. He washed the blood from his face and neck. The scratches were visible, deep. He would have to explain them. Kehinde returned to his normal duties. He responded to a clogged toilet on the 6th floor. He replaced a burned-out light bulb in the parking garage. He clocked out at 6:03 a.m., his shift complete. He went home to his apartment in Tempe. He tried to sleep. He couldn't. Diana's roommate, Chloe Brennan, had been staying at her boyfriend's apartment that night. She returned to Sterling Heights at 7:30 a.m. on Friday morning. She knocked on Diana's door. No answer. She used her key to enter. The apartment was empty. Diana's bed hadn't been slept in. Chloe called Diana's phone. It went straight to voicemail. She checked the group chat from the bachelorette party. Diana's last message was from 11:38 p.m. Home safe, love you, can't wait for your big day. Chloe felt uneasy. Diana was reliable. She always responded. By 8 a.m., Chloe was worried. She went to the front desk. She spoke with the day shift manager, telling him Diana hadn't come home, her phone was off, something was wrong. The manager contacted building security. Security Chief Robert Torres reviewed the keycard logs. Diana had swiped into the building at 11:47 p.m. the previous night. She'd accessed the elevator. Her keycard had not been used since. She hadn't left the building. She should be in her apartment. Torres pulled security footage. He watched Diana enter the lobby at 11:47 p.m. He watched her enter the elevator. He watched Kehinde enter 4 seconds later. The elevator ascended. Then the feed went dark. The elevator camera had stopped recording at 11:51 p.m. Torres checked the elevator maintenance logs. Kehinde Adebayo had logged an electrical issue on October 9th, 3 days earlier. Camera intermittently malfunctioning. Repair scheduled. The camera was still listed as non-functional. Torres expanded his review. He checked the basement-level cameras. At 11:54 p.m., the elevator descended to B2. Kehinde exited, dragging what appeared to be a person. The footage was grainy but unmistakable. He dragged the person toward the stairwell. Neither Kehinde nor the person returned. Torres called the Phoenix Police Department at 8:47 a.m. He reported a possible abduction. Detectives were dispatched immediately. Detective Sarah Nguyen arrived at Sterling Heights at 9:15 a.m. She was a 14-year veteran of the Phoenix PD, assigned to the Major Crimes Unit. She reviewed the security footage Torres had pulled. She saw Diana enter the elevator. She saw Kehinde follow. She saw the elevator descend to B2. She saw Kehinde drag an unconscious woman toward the stairwell. Nguyen requested Kehinde Adebayo's personnel file. She obtained his home address in Tempe. She dispatched officers to his residence immediately. Officers arrived at Kehinde's apartment at 9:42 a.m. Kehinde answered the door. He appeared exhausted, disheveled. Officers noticed fresh scratches on his face and neck. "Mr. Adebayo, we need you to come with us to answer some questions regarding an incident at Sterling Heights." Kehinde hesitated. "What incident?" "A resident went missing last night, Diana Ramos. You were the last person seen with her." Kehinde's expression didn't change. "I don't know anyone named Diana." "You were in an elevator with her at 11:51 p.m. Security footage shows you dragging her unconscious body to the basement." Kehinde requested a lawyer. The interview stopped, but officers obtained a warrant to search his apartment and his locker at Sterling Heights. Meanwhile, at Sterling Heights, Detective Nguyen assembled a search team. She needed to find Diana Ramos. The footage showed Kehinde dragging her to B2. From there, the trail went cold. But B2 had only one stairwell. It led to B3. At 11 a.m., Nguyen and 4 officers entered sub-basement B3. The space was dark, abandoned, eerie. They used flashlights. They searched systematically, room by room. At 1:34 p.m., Officer Marcus Lopez opened the door to the old janitor's storage room. Inside, covered by a tarp, was Diana Ramos. She was dead. Her body was cold. She'd been dead for approximately 13 hours. She was still wearing the burgundy dress from the party. Her wrists and ankles were bound with zip ties. There was severe bruising around her throat. Her fingernails were broken, torn. There was blood and skin under her nails. The medical examiner, Dr. Patricia Chen, arrived at 2:15 p.m. She conducted a preliminary examination at the scene. Cause of death: asphyxiation due to manual strangulation. Time of death: between midnight and 1 a.m. on October 13th. Diana had fought her attacker. The defensive wounds were extensive. Forensic teams processed the scene. They collected the zip ties, the tarp, the lantern. They photographed everything. They collected DNA samples from under Diana's nails. They would later match that DNA to Kehinde Adebayo. At 3:47 p.m., detectives searched Kehinde's locker at Sterling Heights. Inside, they found Diana's gold hoop earring, the one torn from her ear during the struggle in the elevator. They found a plastic bag containing traces of chloroform. They found a notebook with handwritten notes, Diana's work schedule, her apartment number, dates and times she'd entered and exited the building. At 4:20 p.m., detectives executed a search warrant at Kehinde's apartment. They seized his laptop, his phone, his work uniforms. Forensic analysis would reveal everything. Kehinde's laptop contained hundreds of screenshots from Diana's social media accounts. Photos of her saved to a folder. Notes about her life, her family, her routines. Browser history showing searches for how to make chloroform. Effects of chloroform on humans. How long does chloroform take to work? And how to disable security cameras. His phone contained photos he'd taken of Diana without her knowledge. Diana entering the building, Diana at the mailboxes, Diana walking to her car. Photos taken over 6 weeks. evidence of stalking, obsession, premeditation. Kehinde Adebayo was formally arrested and charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, and aggravated assault at 6:30 p.m. on October 13th. He remained in custody without bail. Diana's family was notified at 7 p.m. Carlos and Lucia Ramos arrived at the Phoenix Police Department. They were escorted to a private room. Detective Nguyen told them their daughter was dead. She'd been murdered. Lucia collapsed. Carlos held her, unable to speak, unable to process. Natalia arrived 20 minutes later. She was supposed to be finalizing seating charts for her wedding. Instead, she was being told her sister, her maid of honor, her best friend, was gone. Diana's funeral was held on October 21st, 2023, at St. Mary's Catholic Church in Mesa. Over 400 people attended. Her colleagues from Phoenix Children's Hospital, her patients' families, her nursing school classmates, friends from childhood. The church couldn't hold everyone. Natalia gave the eulogy. She spoke about Diana's kindness, her dedication to helping children, her love for her family. She spoke about the wedding that would happen without Diana. She spoke about the empty chair they would leave at the head table, reserved for the maid of honor who would never stand beside her. Kehinde Adebayo's trial began in March 2024 in Maricopa County Superior Court. The evidence was overwhelming. The security footage, the DNA under Diana's nails, Kehinde's DNA under hers, the scratches on his face matching the defensive wounds Diana inflicted, the earring in his locker, the chloroform, the laptop full of surveillance photos, the search history, the notes tracking her schedule. The defense argued Kehinde suffered from mental illness, that his obsession with Diana was a psychological disorder stemming from isolation and cultural displacement. A psychiatrist testified that Kehinde exhibited signs of erotomania, a delusional belief that Diana was in love with him. The prosecution presented the evidence of planning, the research, the surveillance, the preparation of the sub-basement. Assistant District Attorney Jennifer Caldwell was direct in her closing argument. Mental illness may explain behavior. It does not excuse it. Diana Ramos fought for her life. She scratched this man's face. She drew his blood. She fought for 4 minutes while he strangled her. She died terrified, in pain, in darkness. He murdered by a man who convinced himself his obsession gave him the right to take her life. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Kehinde Adebayo was found guilty of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and aggravated assault. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Diana's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Sterling Heights and Apex Building Services. The suit alleged negligent hiring, inadequate background checks, and failure to maintain security systems. The case settled for an undisclosed amount in August 2024. Sterling Heights underwent a complete security overhaul. All elevator cameras were upgraded with redundant recording systems. Panic buttons were installed in every elevator. Background checks for all maintenance and staff personnel were enhanced to include international verification. Sub-basement B3 was permanently sealed with concrete. Carlos and Lucia Ramos became advocates for building safety legislation. They worked with Arizona state legislators to draft a bill requiring enhanced security measures in mixed-use residential buildings. The bill, known as Diana's Law, was signed into law in May 2024. It mandates panic buttons in all elevators, surveillance in maintenance areas, and stricter background checks for personnel with master key access. Natalia's wedding took place on October 21st, 2023, as scheduled. The head table had an empty chair, draped with burgundy fabric, Diana's favorite color. A framed photo of Diana sat on the chair. Natalia wore a locket with Diana's picture inside. During the ceremony, the officiant asked for a moment of silence for Diana. Over 200 guests cried. Chloe Brennan, Diana's roommate, moved out of Sterling Heights. She couldn't stay in the building where Diana had been taken, where Diana had died. She quit her job, moved to California to be near family, tried to rebuild her life away from the memories. The Pediatric Oncology Unit at Phoenix Children's Hospital established the Diana Ramos Memorial Scholarship. It provides financial assistance to nursing students pursuing careers in pediatric care. Diana's parents attend the annual award ceremony. They meet the recipients. They tell them about Diana. They keep her memory alive. Kehinde Adebayo is incarcerated at the Arizona State Prison Complex in Florence. He served 6 months of his life sentence. He participates in no programs. He communicates with no one. Other inmates know what he did. Prison has its own justice system for those who hurt women. The janitor's storage room in subbasement B3, where Diana died, has been demolished. The entire level was filled with concrete as part of the building's renovations. Diana's blood, her DNA, the evidence of her final moments, is now entombed beneath Sterling Heights. Apartment 9, D, where Diana lived, remained vacant for 8 months. No one wanted to rent the unit where a murdered woman had lived. Finally, in June 2024, it was rented to a young couple who didn't know the history. The elevator where Diana was attacked still operates. The camera has been replaced. The emergency alarm now works. But the building's older residents remember. Some refuse to use that elevator. They take the stairs or wait for a different car. On October 12th each year, Diana's family gathers at her grave at Mountain View Cemetery in Mesa. They bring burgundy flowers. They tell stories about her. They remember her not as a victim, but as Diana, the nurse who sang to sick children, the sister who planned the perfect bachelorette party, the daughter who made her parents proud, the woman who fought for her life until her last breath. Diana Ramos entered an elevator at midnight. She pressed the button for the 9th floor. She never reached it. She was 25 years old. She had decades ahead of her, patients who needed her, a sister who needed her, a family who loved her, a life that was stolen by a man who believed his obsession entitled him to her. She fought. She scratched. She drew blood. She refused to die quietly. It wasn't enough to save her, but it was enough to convict her killer. Diana deserves to be remembered not for how she died, but for how she lived, with compassion, with dedication, with love for the children she cared for and the family she adored. She's gone. Nothing will bring her back, but her legacy remains. Diana's law will protect others. The scholarship in her name will train new nurses. Her memory will endure in the hearts of everyone she touched. That's what matters most. Diana Ramos was here. She mattered. She still matters. And she will never be forgotten.